Hey everyone, and welcome to another GameXplain discussion. I'm your host, Derek Bittner, and I'm joined today by Chuggaaconroy to give our thoughts on the Pokémon Conference, including Detective Pikachu, Pokémon Home, Pokémon Sleep, and Pokémon Masters. So let's get started. So yeah, Neil, the actual conference itself was a little dry, but we got 4 big announcements as far as Pokemon is concerned, and overall, I think this is an interesting direction for them outside of Pokemon Sword and Shield, but what are your thoughts on the conference, just overall?
Are you kidding me? I can't believe they didn't even announce Super Smash Bros. 6.
It's time, come on. Jeez.
But, seriously, I think admittedly, they did announce a lot of individual things, and there's a lot of ideas here that I find interesting, but I think the problem is that they gave little to no details on them, and each announcement was kind of over before you knew it.
Yeah, that's the major problem. It's like, oh, okay, that's something interesting, and then moving on to the next topic. Oh, okay, thanks.
I mean, not to, cut ahead too much, though, but the big finale announcement that they were saving for the end was only 10 seconds of gameplay, if even that, and then it was just, thank you for joining us.
I mean, to be fair, that's the most gameplay we got out of this entire thing.
Pretty much. I guess when you put it that way, it is infinitely more exciting than a lot of the other stuff that we saw.
Yeah, it's a little sad in that degree, especially because they start out with, hey, Detective Pikachu is coming to the Switch. Oh, in what capacity? Well, we're finishing the story. Okay, does that mean it's a sequel? Or, you actually had some other ideas and as far as what Detective Pikachu on Switch could be.
Yeah, I thought with the announcement of the movie, as well as just how big of a hit it was gearing up to be and how big of a hit it turned out to be, it was only a matter of time before we got a Switch port. But that's the thing, is in Japan, Detective Pikachu was an episodic game where I think the first episode was $10 on the eShop, and that ended on a cliffhanger. There were no details given for years, no localization details really given for a long time, and then suddenly, episodes 2 and 3 are dropping in Japan tomorrow, and we're getting episodes 1, 2, and 3 on a cartridge. So I wonder if it means that we're getting a port to the Switch with an added chapter that can be selected from the beginning for people who already played it on the 3DS, or if this means that this is an eShop title and you can download individual episodes, or if this is just a sequel that is just the new chapter and nothing else. It's completely a mystery right now. I mean, this sounds like a job for Detective Pikachu.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it could be any number of those things. I mean, I could see it being, hey, here's everything previously plus the actual conclusion. Even though episode 3 of the Detective Pikachu game, ends pretty conclusively. You find the bad guy, but for those of you who've seen the movie, it doesn't quite have the same ending. So it doesn't quite wrap all that up yet. It really does leave it open for more. So it's entirely possible it could be a sequel where they just cover that more stuff and expand upon it and end the story. Or it could be, as Emil says, where it's just, here's everything else and here's one more chapter, which usually consists of 3 episodes, I think. And move on to the next thing. It's hard to say for sure because, again, we got no details.
No, they just said coming to Nintendo Switch with a new story, I think is what they said. So it doesn't mean is that with something else? I don't know. It's unfortunate, very vague wording, and I'm sure that we'll see more details eventually, but not for a long time because they would be absolutely mad to try to announce this stuff after Pokemon Sword and Shield gets its big news next week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think they already said it's probably coming in 2020, so we have a ways to wait. I think that's when it said. I can't remember offhand, but
I feel like everything in this conference was 2020.
Pretty much everything in this conference was 2020 except for Pokemon Masters, so yeah.
Don't forget the Pokemon Center that's 7,000 miles away in a country all the way across the Pacific. That's opening this year.
I can't wait for Pokemon Center Shibuya. That's the most exciting thing.
Japan already has 12 Pokemon Centers, and then there's one in Singapore, and then America has 4.
Yeah, we're out of luck. So, I mean, at least we're getting the Pokemon shirts. That's something, maybe.
I'm excited for that. I actually didn't even know about that before this, but that's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure it's expensive as all get out, but it's the way it goes. I mean, they're just a marketing machine at this point. It's pretty crazy. But yeah, unfortunately, it's hard to say really that much more about Detective Pikachu because we can't even hypothesize about what a sequel would be because we're not even sure if it is a sequel. So let's just forget all about it and move on to Pokemon Home, which is arguably the most exciting bit here, the most exciting announcement, at least for those very curious about Pokemon Bank and whether that was going to come to the Switch so they could carry all their Pokemon over. And with Home, it's technically yes, but it's also, all the 3DS games and Pokemon Bank, it's Pokemon Go, and it's all the Switch titles so far, including Let's Go and the upcoming Sword and Shield. So, and it's a cloud service where you can actually trade Pokemon amongst people. So this seems like a better expanded idea that's much more future-proof than Bank was.
I agree. The fact that it has a mobile app means that it's probably going to be supported beyond the Switch, just on that alone. Personally, if there's anything I could say about it that has me a bit skittish is the fact that it's going to take another few months after Sword and Shield like Bank did with X and Y. May we avoid another month-long eShop crash, if that's the case. One thing that I want to call about it is, calling it now, the 2020 release date and the 3DS compatibility means that the Pokemon Home app will be the last first-party game ever released for the 3DS, which is really sad, if that's the case.
I mean, previously it was Kirby's Extra Epic Yarn, so slightly better, I guess? I don't know.
I don't know if I'd say like an app is better, though, but sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's either an app or a port.
It does answer the question of where Let's Go was going to fall, and they're sticking by their guns of it being a main game that's compatible with other main games, and I think that's a good thing, as well as being able to transfer in your Let's Go Pokemon, your Pokemon Go Pokemon that are not just the original 150.
Yeah, I think, and that's the interesting part here, is like, by putting those Pokemon in Home, does that mean I can transfer them to Sword and Shield? How does their moveset get created by that point? Is it something like how it's done with Pokemon Go to Let's Go? Or, I don't know. It's a lot of things they have to figure out all of a sudden.
I just hope it's not like transferring from Red and Blue up to Sun and Moon. If you remember that, people were wondering how that was going to be handled, because you had some abilities that were matched with moves that would just be ridiculous, like Machamp having no guard and fissure, but they remedied that by giving all Pokemon their dream abilities. But the big thing was, how are Nature's, IVs, and all that going to be determined, because all that stuff didn't exist back then. Even IVs were DVs back then, which functioned on different rules. There was a thought that they might just multiply DVs by 2, because DVs were between 0 and 15, whereas IVs are 0 to 31. Mm-hmm. That would have made sense, but instead, no, your Pokemon is just completely re-rolled, and they just give you a physically identical one that is not the same thing.
Oof. That's a bit yikes.
It's kind of funny, though, because in the hacking community, when that happened, I saw so many people saying that they would have killed to be the one to write the algorithm of translating a Red and Blue Pokemon into a Sun and Moon Pokemon, and I'm like, what a time to be alive that is something that programmers wish they could get a job doing and, like, be in charge of, because anything would have been better than how it was handled. But,
yeah, I mean, that's typically how it goes for these things. It's just like, hey, this makes sense. This seems like a good way to do it. Nope, not doing that at all. So tough luck.
It's just RNG. You could have a perfect Machamp back in the day, and then you transfer it up to Sun and Moon, and it's garbage because it's just re-rolled.
That's heartbreaking. It really is. But, I mean, at least they finally have a solution for how to get all those Pokemon together. Yeah, it's coming out after Sword and Shield, but oh well. I mean, to be honest, I never even picked up Pokemon Bank. I just never took the time to carry my Pokemon forward, just because I never did the whole competitive sense or got that connected with many of my Pokemon. So I just kind of skipped on it.
I can see that, maybe not seeing it as that important. It costs money as well. Mm-hmm. I just think it's important because this keeps the dream alive that you could have a Pokemon when you were 8 years old, grow up, have a kid, your kid gets into Pokemon, and then you would give your Pokemon to your child.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty cool. That idea is always really attractive and, something that you can possibly do. And I'm actually, speaking of Bank, I'm wondering if you already have an account with Pokemon Bank, if you can just transfer that immediately to Home and just be all set to go rather than having to cancel Bank and bring over Home, or however they might handle it.
As much as I would say that it's completely fair to expect that, I don't think they're going to do it.
Yeah.
Just based on how many different Nintendo accounts there have been over the years, where you have your Club Nintendo, your My Nintendo, your like Miitomo, and then all that. Like, all these things were separate accounts at first.
Yeah.
Pokemon Trainer Club, there's so many different Nintendo accounts that you have to have, and I don't know. Nintendo's kind of new to the whole subscription thing, but I just don't know if I really trust that to happen. as much as I wish I could say that it's totally fair.
Yeah, we'll have to see. It's definitely one of those things where we need, again, just a little bit more information before we know what we're getting into, which also kind of applies to Pokemon Sleep, because, okay, I was mystified at the end of that trailer where they said, like, use your sleep to help out with Pokemon. What? What the
I was upset when they stopped that, because I'm like, whoa, what the heck? Like, what is this? And then they stop before you really know anything about it.
Yeah, all it ends is showing, like, Pikachu curling up and then doing 0.01 hours. I'm like, oh, it's just all the time you spend. It's like, nope, just sleeping. So it's like, okay. And the thing is, they don't even really they didn't talk about the benefits of, like, what you're doing with the Pokemon while you're sleeping, like what your sleeping transfers to. It's just, hey, we have this new Pokemon Sleep thing that kind of ties in with Pokemon Go. We have this new Pokemon plus, or what is, I forget, Pokemon Go plus or something like that. Okay, that's something.
I saw a guy in the stream chat on Twitch saying, monetizing sleep.
Can I buy better sleep? Is that possible?
It'd be nice.
Right? Oh, jeez.
The way that I think this app is going to work is it's meant to promote more healthy sleeping habits. And as creepy as it is to say this, it is true. Google already knows when you're asleep. It gives you notifications based on it. It stops giving you notifications during the 8 hours a day that you're mysteriously never checking your phone during. And who can resist checking their phone when they first wake up? Or who is not going to be checking their phone for hours? You're on your phone all day, every few minutes. This is not going to be just don't play the game. And this is not going to be just don't play the game. It will be able to tell when you're asleep based on when you're not using your phone, and be able to reward you based on, hey, you haven't used your phone in 8 hours, you've been asleep. It's actually a deterrent from if they're doing it this way, where it's starting a timer when you put your phone down and then realizing, okay, this person's probably asleep right now. It would actually be a physical deterrent from picking up your phone when you can't sleep, or from, like, messing around on your phone when you're laying in bed when you should be trying to when you should be trying to nod off.
Yeah, I suppose it would be, because you're like, I want to check my phone, but could get these benefits from Pokemon Sleep, so maybe I should leave it alone and just, actually try to sleep, which is a weird thing to think about. And I've seen a lot of people mention this already, but it's kind of the resurfacing of Nintendo's quality of life initiative that they talked about long ago in the Wii days, and one of the things they did talk about was sleep. And sure enough, here's a way to gamify sleep.
It is. That disappeared for a lot. I think they announced that had dissolved earlier this year after just years of not hearing anything about it. Was that right?
I think so. It was either this year or last year they said that they were done with it. But, Nintendo's not one to let a good idea go to waste, so it just popped back up again, I guess, in some other way.
I chuckled a little bit when you said good idea, though. But
yeah, exactly. An idea that they can see profit in or something like that. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't think this is an entirely, bad idea. I think it's interesting. It'll just be a matter of, how the details are handled. It's an interesting idea, the concept of game design based around people's sleeping habits. And they specifically said good sleeping habits, so I wonder if that means that this game would just stop rewarding you after a certain point, where if you sleep for more than 9 hours, then it doesn't count that as a good sleeping habit or something, just to make it so you also can't just live a day without your phone to get a lot of stuff.
Maybe. I mean, it might, if you get better rewards for a longer night's sleep or something along that idea. It depends on what they mean by good sleeping habits. But, I'm still trying to think of what the reward could be for those good habits. Because you're not going to be catching Pokemon, and you can't really train your Pokemon. So what would it do?
It could be similar to where you get candies in Pokemon Go for walking a certain amount of time, where it's relative to your hours of sleep.
Mm-hmm.
That could be something. It could be kind of similar to the Dream World from Pokemon Black and White, where you would get items and even Pokemon that would just pop up out of nowhere after your Pokemon had been asleep for a day.
See, that has some potential in it. That'd be pretty interesting. And, I mean, I guess they're getting close to Gen 5, so that'd be a good way to tie in, Mana and, all those. So maybe? I don't know.
I don't think we're quite that far along enough they have to do Unova pandering, but
yeah, exactly.
I wouldn't complain.
Well, again, this is 2020, so you never know. maybe by that point. But I don't know. I mean, it's an interesting concept. It's also one thing that, like, yeah, you already said that Google knows when we're sleeping, but it still kind of bugs me. It's like, okay, so now Pokemon can track where I'm going and when I'm sleeping. Oh, that's lovely.
When they know more about you than even the FBI does.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, Pokemon is your life. Live it, breathe it, sleep it.
Before you know it, they're going to have Pokemon-themed food that is gamified, where, like, the more of it that you purchase and eat, the more you get rewarded.
Oh, God. Now, that would be effective on me.
I actually miss the Pokemon cereal from back in the day, but we're getting off topic.
Yeah. But, yeah, any other thoughts on Pokemon Sleep or the Pokemon Go ++?
Two things. One, the English speaker laughing out loud when he was reading the script about Pokemon Go++.
Yeah.
I just want to bring that to attention.
Mm-hmm. That was good.
For two, if they were to reveal more stuff for Pokemon Sleep, as in more peripherals, more features and stuff, you know what I think would be the best idea ever?
What's that?
A peripheral that is a plush that you hug to sleep, and it tracks your information based on that.
Oh, that is a really good idea.
If there was a Pikachu that was, like, warm to the touch that you could, like, actually, like, hug to sleep, and, you know, it would, like, know that you were sleeping based on you, like, hugging it and everything, that would be so good.
Oh my God, that is evil genius territory, Emil. That is like, oh my God, especially, like, you know, hug your favorite. Oh, I love Squirtle. Oh, here's a Squirtle you can hug and sleep at night, and, you know, send that data and all, or whatever to do with it. It's like, oh no, they got us.
Collect them all.
The cuteness has got us.
That's what I immediately thought of when it showed Pikachu sleeping in the bed next to the person. I was like, how are they going to have Pikachu sleeping next to you be a game mechanic if that video is to be believed as accurate? And I'm like, oh.
Oh, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, it's something that they could easily do if it becomes a big thing. But, yeah, I mean, an intriguing idea, not something I'm exactly excited for. The thing that I think was I ended up being the most impressed with, or being like, I guess the better way to put it is, oh God, this could be a trap, is Pokemon Masters. Because now, like, they got the Pokemon aspect of it, but there's now all these characters we've come to love across the entire series. And guess what? You can join them or battle with them, and they're actually bringing back 3v3 mechanics, which, wow, never thought I'd see that. And collect them all. You gotta have them on your team. Gotta have your favorites on your team. Oh no.
This is basically going to be Fire Emblem Heroes / Dragalia Lost. This is going to be a gacha system. They're going to do events where, hey, now you can have Serena in a swimsuit. I don't know if they'll go quite that much.
I don't know if they'll go that much, but they can easily pull like outfits from different generations.
Oh, they could.
So they could have like here's Misty in her Gen 1 outfit, or here's older Misty from Gen 2.
It's funny you say that because Misty's red and blue sprite was actually just a bikini. So
right. I mean, yeah. So
if Brock can like rip his shirt off and be like ultra buff.
I mean, I kind of love that aspect. Honestly, it's just like, here's my move, ripped shirt. It's like, oh crap, Brock.
It's his Z move pose, which is brilliant.
Mm-hmm. So good. Oh gosh, it's there's so much potential there, and they're constantly doing more trainers. And the thing is, they already have the idea of like commons, rares, ultra rares, and probably like legendaries by having like the champions be legendaries, gym leaders be like maybe rares, Elite Four is ultra rares, and then I spotted 2 different designs for ace trainers in there as well. So there's your commons, or maybe even just other kinds of rares, and have like commons be like, hey, you got the bug trainer, or here's Joey, you know.
There's loads of potential with just how every regular trainer class has had different designs. What I'm curious about is, I think that the idea of every gym leader, Elite Four, champion, and protagonist together in one place sounds like an awesome crossover just on its own. Mm-hmm. But I wonder if that means that we're going to see perhaps frontier brains, or characters that have been important in the past. Maybe bad guys who aren't team bosses like Charon or Petrol.
I could see that.
There's a lot of named characters that you could do, and there's so many possibilities for updates and events and stuff like that where you could include more tertiary characters.
Yeah, and having those tertiary characters helps also because I don't think Pokemon are definitely not going to be the attractive part here. It's going to be, if I had to guess, a trainer, and then they come with a Pokemon that represents them. So the only way you're going to get Garchomp is if you get Cynthia, for example.
That seems like it's the case, and perhaps maybe the starter evolutions could be tied to the protagonists, but it seems, by and large, that you're just going to be getting trainers, and maybe they'll have one or two Pokemon that represent them very strongly. I'm happy that it seems like characters like Leaf, Rosa, Nate, Calum, those trainers that never show up in anything because they're protagonists in games that never come up again. I'm glad that they're getting used, because those characters have never been used in like even the anime and stuff. But please, after how long, let Chris be in this.
Oh, from Crystal. Yeah.
Yes, and if not Chris, at least Lyra, because the girl trainer from Gold and Silver gets routinely skipped over and everything. Leaf finally appeared in something else because she's a costume for Pokemon Trainer in Smash Ultimate. But the girl trainer from Gold and Silver never does anything. And it's a shame, though, because I know so many people that love her.
Yeah. Oh, man. I mean, that's the thing with these, is they could easily do that. Maybe not right away, but certainly get them in there quick. I mean, they made sure to have the favorites right there. Blue was there, Cynthia was there, Steven Stone, Misty, Brock. It's like they know what they're doing.
And Rosa, don't forget her.
Yeah, and Rosa, yeah. Oh, I like Rosa, don't you worry.
Okay, good. We won't have no problems. That just sounds creepy now, I'm sorry.
Yeah, exactly. That's what, it's no big deal. But, yeah, this is like... I mean, Fire Emblem Heroes wasn't able to hook me eventually. Like, I played it for a while, but as stopped getting the things I wanted, and because not every Fire Emblem game came over, it's hard to be too attached to any of those, to a couple of those common characters that I just wasn't getting, or that I would get all the time. But when you have Pokemon, and you know all those characters, and you have their special Pokemon that come with them, it's like, crap, this might actually get me.
It's funny we're having this conversation because I just talked to someone about this, where he was telling me about how he couldn't get into Dragalia Lost because it was wanting real money for him to pull characters, and because these characters weren't part of an existing property that he cared about. It's like, okay, cool, I got the snooty princess character, I guess that's cool. And then in Fire Emblem Heroes, every game was either only released in Japan, came out over here and sold 3 copies, so it cost like $200, or it just was not a very popular game. And then, people get mad about the Awakening and Fates representation greatly outweighing the other games, but when that's the case, I
mean, they're the ones that sold the best, so it makes sense.
It's a remnant of how you have to focus on the stuff that's going to sell microtransactions, because it's how these games work. But I see what this game's going to do to monetize itself. I'm pretty sure I can see that, and most people seem to have the same idea anyway, and I'm okay with that. I understand that these games have to do stuff like that to make money, but I know that as soon as a game is on a phone, there's unreasonably high expectations people have, where they're like, okay, I will care about this as long as it's a main numbered entry in my favorite series, it has no microtransactions, and it has to be free.
Yeah, exactly. Oh boy, no, it's gonna be it's Pokemon Fire Emblem Heroes, and then you have different battles and getting into them, and you get the things that you can do, pools, and try to recruit other people, and they didn't give that many details, but you can just see how it's all in place.
Definitely. One thing I want to see the Fire Emblem Heroes did come back was that mechanic that if you awakened 5 heroes at a time, your chances of getting a good one were greatly higher. I thought that was kind of a nice thing, that it encouraged you to save your stuff instead of just impulsing every time there was something you wanted.
Yeah, I think that'd be cool to have that, and that little award bit. Although I just thought of something else. So you could have another form of variance between the characters. I was like, oh, okay, I got Brock. Oh, it's Brock with Geodude. Weird. Huh, I want Brock with Onyx. And that's how they tied it in.
Awful, because I was thinking that Brock would have Geodude and Onyx by default, and there would be 2 Pokemon that represent them, but... your Cynthia only has Gastrodon? Ooh.
Yeah, you want the Cynthia with Garchomp. It's like, oh, okay, you got Misty. Oh, she has Staryu, but there's also Misty with Starmie. Oh, but now we have the special Misty with Psyduck.
Oh, wow. I thought the possibilities for events and tertiary trainer characters were endless before, but you've just multiplied everything that I thought by like 100 in what you could do, where you have them with some kind of fan favorite Pokemon that they were portrayed with in the anime or something.
Oh yeah, exactly. It's this could be very devious, but it also is like I kind of want to see it.
I mean, who doesn't cackle a little bit along with the evil geniuses making these mobile games? Whenever a mobile game is genius in how it's making its money, it's just... I have a part of me that hates them for it, but a part of me that's also, okay, that's pretty clever.
Yeah, it's like, alright, respect. You played the game well, you know how to manipulate me. Ah, crap.
Whenever they're right on the money, I can't help but respect them at least a little bit, even if I am doing it through gritted teeth.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be interesting because it is coming out this year. I mean, I'll be honest, just because I don't know much about Detective Pikachu and what that means for it coming to the Switch, this is the game I'm most excited about. And I'm not usually into mobile games, but dang it, this thing is going to get me.
I like how we're already singing songs of our own doom, and we've seen 10 seconds of gameplay and said that they didn't show nearly enough.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, hey, maybe we're completely wrong and it's something else, but I kind of like what we envisioned, although it's devious as all get out.
If I can go back to the triple battle thing before, that is something I never thought I'd see come back, because that was the first battle system I think that got retired. Mm-hmm. It's kind of cool getting to see it live on here. It's
very cool, and it'd be pretty cool if they could also like maybe have rotation battles in there as well.
You're right, actually.
Mm-hmm.
I think I like rotation battles more than triples at this point anyway, so I'd be all for that.
Yeah, I'd be curious how they handle it. It looked pretty standard 3-on-3, but even then, it's just like, oh, hey, cool, this is back. And you can sort of figure out like who you want and how you're going to go about it. And I think that has the potential to be a lot of fun. So we'll see how it all comes together. Yeah, well, any other thoughts on these 4 announcements from Pokemon?
Are we not going to talk about how Pokemon Quest is finally coming out in China?
Oh man, those lucky dogs. I mean, I'm sure they've been waiting for years for Pokemon Quest. I mean, such a memorable game.
The sad thing is, I'm sure that there's children out there who actually were waiting like a year for it, because I remember when I was a kid, every time something would get announced for Japan but not America, it didn't matter what it was, I was like, how come we don't get it? And I'd get so heated about it when I was a kid, so I'm sure, like, to some kid it was answering their call that they had been saying for over a year, because I know I sure got upset about that when I was young.
Yeah, it's just like, wait a minute, we're getting screwed here, that's not right, so, yeah. But, yeah, overall, I mean, not the most exciting conference, but it definitely has some potential in the future whenever they decide to show more of this stuff off.
Last year was definitely better, because I liked the first trailer for Let's Go. I thought it was fine.
Yeah, it definitely got you excited. It's like, oh wow, they're going in this direction. That's really cool. But yeah, I think that covers it for our Pokemon Conference discussion, so thank you for watching, and if you like this video, be sure to like us on Facebook and Twitter at GameXplain. And Emil, where can they find you at?
Well, thank you for having me. I'm on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube as Chuggaaconroy. I make Let's Play videos, and I can't tell you what I'm making right now, but it'll be here very soon.
Next one coming soon. Very cool. And of course, make sure to subscribe to GameXplain for more on Pokemon, including that upcoming Direct for Sword and Shield, and other things gaming as well. Until next time, bye.